Hey, what's going on, peoples? This is your man, Derek Terry, back for season 11, episode 1. And we have a very special guest as well as a very special episode. It's not like my normal episodes, but it's definitely an episode and a topic that is important to me. It's important to a lot of others. And hopefully, um, how can I say it? You'll get something positive out of something which is a negative thing. So I want to introduce my special guest, Kathryn, aka Kat Young. How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good, Derek. Thanks for having me.
And I know we've been trying to get this going for a couple of months. So with the holidays and everything, I'm glad we're able to get this interview going. So you can before we get started, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I am a mother of three, grandmother of two. I am the CEO and founder of Your Infinite Paths Foundation, which is a regional nonprofit here in the area. And we do a lot of work with people trying to improve their lives with both coaching principles and resource acquisition.
Okay. Um, so we had talked earlier, um, and well, I would say a little bit later in the part of 2024
Mhm.
about some of the projects you've been working on. And I had the opportunity to go to one of your events and meet one of your guest speakers. And I want to say, I believe
S. Monique Smith.
Monique
Yes.
Smith. And I do have a copy of her book. I don't know why I can't remember the title, but I can tell you that I'm halfway done with the book. And
It's I am the ancestor.
yeah, and man, I won't go in great detail about the book, but I'm telling you, you have the opportunity to get that book, get that book. So kind of leads me into the project that you're getting. So tell us about, I believe it's called the Last Jane Doe project.
Longest Living Jane
Longest
Doe
Living Jane Doe. I'm sorry.
is the name of the movie that we're going to be screening on January 18th. The event starts at 12:30 in the afternoon at The Space, which is operated by LB Innovations. What we're doing there is continuing our commitment to awareness of human trafficking. And we did an event 2 years ago, sparked some interest in the community. And then over the last 2 years, we've been working behind the scenes trying to figure out how we can be more supportive to survivors. So we're coming back, and now annually we will do these events. But this year, we're doing the screening of S. Monique Smith's movie. It's her movie of her life, as a person who has was missing, was trafficked, abused. It's going to be a very impactful movie. And then after that, there'll be four of us who will be speakers: myself, Monique, Dr. Astral Webb, and Kathy Myers from the Center for Children here in Southern Maryland.
Okay. So for our viewers and for those who don't really understand what human and sex trafficking is, can you kind of give us a brief overview of what that is? Because I think there's some myths tied to it, but I guess before we get into the myths, what's a general overview of what human and sex trafficking is?
It's complicated. It's not a very simple thing to explain, and we'll go into a lot of detail at the event, but it's essentially when someone is coerced, forced, or intimidated into doing something against their will, and somebody else gets the money involved. So whether it's sex, work, um, there are other things that happen, and again, we'll go in more detail at the event. It's forced labor, forced sex for money. It's force has to be involved. Um so or coercion. So the thing that we worry about with children, for instance, is all these video games have these communities that work together, but predators can go in, pretend to be a 14-year-old, talk to somebody who's vulnerable. They've been bullied, they're abused at home, they're just going through normal teenage angst, but this predator feeds off of that insecurity and kind of lures them or actually, I shouldn't say kind of, lures them into a world where they're promised, okay, come with me, we'll take care of you, we'll get you away from the situation, and then they're trapped because they're gone. And um, it's difficult
It,
to get
it,
out.
yeah, it seemed like sort of like a modern day slavery.
It is absolutely
Um,
a modern day
um,
slavery. Sorry, I
and
didn't want to phrase it that way, but
well, I'm saying
yeah,
it,
it
it
is.
is what it is. It's
It
a,
is.
slavery comes in all different races, genders, sexes, ages, but it's modern day slavery. I know it's a bad, quote unquote, bad word in the United States, but whether people like it or not, this country was built on slavery.
It
It is
was.
what it is.
Yeah.
But one of the things I noticed when I was doing my research, I did not know that the United States is the largest, quote unquote, I guess, they're the largest culprit of sex and human trafficking, followed by Mexico, and then I think the Philippines. That was something I think I got off the Department of Justice, Department of State,
Yeah.
and those are just reported
hmm
because,
And that's
yeah.
part of the problem. You know, a lot of times when I think Kathy is going to speak to this at the event, is a lot of times law enforcement isn't even trained well enough to discern what is trafficking and what is other criminal sexual assault or um, sex work or those things. So sometimes it gets categorized inappropriately. So we're not even looking for these people who have been taken from us.
So when we're looking, you mentioned categorizing or categorizing
hmm
um, the area in which they would put human and sex trafficking or what they may consider not to be.
hmm
How is that play into the myths, some of the myths when it comes about human and sex trafficking?
I think because we have, rightly so, this approach to sex positive um, approaches to sex work, for instance. There are certain adults who go into sex work as a profession. They're not coerced, they're not forced, they're not intimidated. They receive all the money from the work. That's not trafficking. But if you have a pimp or you're forced into it and you're not getting your, you know, that's forced. Or even if you are just a minor who has been put into that world, you're being trafficked. And
Now, I
go
didn't
ahead.
cut you off, but as we look at, say, Charles County,
hmm
and I don't know, I hear things, but I don't know. Do we have an issue here in Charles County?
Of course we do. And the thing about Charles County is it's got a balance of urban and rural properties. And the rural properties can easily be used to hide people. I'm working on getting a graphic for the event on Saturday from a person who works with um, escape routes from different locations, and he's working on it for Southern Maryland. But to get someone out of Southern Maryland, Charles County, St. Mary's, to Delaware, to Virginia, to other states is like super easy to do. And while they're here, they can hide them in properties that are on farmland or abandoned properties or anywhere really.
And I'm not putting farmers out there,
Oh
but
God,
I
no.
guess farmers have a lot of land, so I guess there's some cases where they might not know that somebody's being housed there, or do we have cases where they know people are being housed there?
Look, I'm not putting a target on any farmers in our area.
Yeah.
I think our farmers are
Yeah.
clean. But here's the thing, when you have properties that are so far apart from each other, you could go and buy a property, right?
Mhm.
And your nearest neighbor is half a mile away,
Mhm.
right? You don't know what your neighbor's doing. It's not a farmland,
Okay, I
it's
see
a
what you're saying.
rural property-ish.
Okay, okay.
So the people can be brought in and taken out very easily without you noticing what's going on. Because of course we're in an era where we're in the mind your own business era. You can't even talk to your neighbors these days without somebody looking at you side-eyed. Whereas when I grew up, everybody and their brother knew who I was going through Long Island.
Okay, that's what you're saying. So just to put it out there, we're not targeting farmers. We're
Oh
talking
God, no.
about rural areas. And
Yep.
I can see where, let's say, for instance, you have a neighborhood, right?
Hmm.
And you know that no one is living in that house. Maybe
Right.
they found a way to get into that house
That's right.
in your urban area.
Yeah.
Nobody
Abandoned
knows. And if
property.
you're not monitoring, well, who's going to monitor? Because they look at it, ain't my house. They don't know what's going on. Maybe somebody's coming to visit, and that's when you don't have that connection with your neighbors. So, what are some of the tactics that are used to lure? Um, Whether it's well, let's focus on minors first.
Sure.
What are
I
some of
think
the
we talked
tactics?
about that. We
It,
talked
it,
about that a little bit. We're
but,
talking about
but,
using
but
the gaming systems, but we're talking about when we're talking about teens specifically, we're talking about kids who are feeling vulnerable, kids who are, disenfranchised from the system, from their families, from community. They're isolating. Maybe they've been victim of bullying. So, um, these people can come in and provide safe harbor for them. And then by the time they realize that this person who may not even be that much older than them, but who's older than them is just pulling them in. You also see older women who are brainwashed into bringing other girls into the situation. And let's also be clear, boys can be trafficked too.
yeah, because I do recall when I was teaching in Fairfax, and this was years ago, that there was a boy and a girl that were part of the human sex trafficking.
Right,
I didn't know that until there's some long-standing psychological and traumatic things that linger in their minds.
right.
One girl, she literally said, Mr. Terry, if you paid me $1 billion, I couldn't tell you how many men I've slept with.
Yeah,
And she had just turned 13.
yeah.
And I said, men? And the boy, he kind of said the same thing,
Mhm.
where it was men and women.
Yes.
And but how do you report that when it's something that happened? They have no, it's like they don't know the people. They don't know if their real names. So whoever you're John or Pimp or whatever it may be, you don't even know if they're legit. So I asked them how they got out of it. And they said one day they just ran
Hmm.
and went to the police, or one went to the police and one I think went to a church.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow. So what are some, are you aware of anyone that was involved, and say as a minor and was able to get out of it, where that person, the defendant, I guess, was prosecuted for that crime?
If I'm not mistaken, Monique,
Okay.
I believe that Monique was able to prosecute her
Well,
captors.
yeah,
So we'll have to
I didn't
ask
read I
her.
didn't read the whole book yet. La la
Yeah.
la.
But
As
but
I was reading it, I was sitting there like, man,
yeah,
But
there are 10 degrees between people. That's 6 degrees of separation between people. So you can get yeah, this is why you have to get law enforcement involved as soon as possible, because even if you think you don't know something, you may know something that will make sense to the to law enforcement who's already looking at the trafficking problem in that particular area. So having a good relationship with law enforcement is very important.
okay. So I before I go on to the actual project, I do, and I don't know the name of the bill, but I know Delegate C.T. Wilson, either he sponsored it or co-sponsored it, and it
Hmm.
dealt more or less with rape, but it had to do, I think, with the statute of limitations.
Hmm.
So I see that as a hopeful remedy that some of these victims could use when they're able to identify. But it is a federal crime, I believe.
It is trafficking is a federal crime.
But I
Absolutely.
do know that the state, could prosecute as well. So
Hmm.
there's, we don't want the victims to think, okay, you've been able to escape it. If you have the means, the ability to do it, you go after these people because there's some sick people. That's some sick people. And I have a daughter. I have a son. So I Man, I don't know how I react, but
Yeah, and we want to make sure that survivors have the ability to work with law enforcement to do that. We also need to recognize, just like rape victims, survivors may not have the fortitude to go through a court hearing. I don't know if you know anything about those types of th situations, but once you've been traumatized by your abuser and your captor, when you go into trying to prosecute these people, you then have the situation of being re-traumatized by retelling the story to a police officer, to a supervisor, to medical providers who are doing your exams, to district attorneys, and then in court and prepping for the court. It's a lot. And I can
yeah,
tell you from personal experience that if the person is not in proper counseling, scraping that wound every single time you retell it is horribly re-traumatizing.
yeah,
So,
you have to relive it, and then heaven forbid if that person is found not guilty.
correct.
You went through all of that just to see them get back on the street. It can be for a variety of reasons,
Yeah.
lack of evidence, hearsay, she say, whatever it may be.
Yep.
But it's yeah, and I definitely understand that part of it, even from a personal, for me, having to relive something, but I had to relive it in order for me to get treatment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to heal if I didn't relive it. So some of the things I had to go through as a child, even with military, I had to relive it just so I could get through it. So
But hopefully you relived it with a mental health professional.
yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
I'm talking about
Yeah,
people not necessarily having that mental health
yeah.
assistance. So, and then we have to give them the choice. Are they strong enough to do that piece of it, or do they need to just rebuild their lives and move forward? So it's got to be a personal choice for the survivor.
Yeah, and I think just me, I think it's very difficult for someone to move on without getting that professional mental help somewhere down the road because they
Absolutely.
have kids that can impact how you raise your kids. It could impact just your everyday. Um,
Mhm.
Going through Monique's book, I didn't get a chance to go through the details of it yet, but um, I'm hoping through that she got counseling. But if she
Oh,
didn't, if she, because I didn't read the book in its
yeah.
entirety.
I haven't read it yet
I'm
because
half.
I know it's
Yeah,
going to trigger me, but
yeah,
I can tell you, knowing Monique and her strength and her fortitude and her a level of success, she wouldn't be where she is today without having had those professional supports in place.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
I'm very confident that she's been able to do that for herself. And
Yeah.
that's what we want to do for future survivors here in Charles County and really in Maryland. Um, so I don't
Okay.
want to talk about it too soon, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, sure. But so let's talk about this project. It's gonna be at hope I got the name. Well, I know who it is, the person who owns it, but LB Innovations.
Yep, it's called The
Yeah,
Space.
the space, which I've been there before. I've been she actually my daughter's 25th birthday party had it there.
Hmm.
So I'm glad she's allowing you to utilize that space to do the premiere. So in terms of the project, tell us a little bit about the project. Um,
So again, every year now we will have an awareness event, and this year we're able to show Monique's movie, have her be one of our speakers. We'll have a couple of vendors available. One of them is, um, uh, oh my goodness, why am I forgetting the names of these?
I think I just put it up here.
Yes, but those are our speakers, but
Okay.
our vendors are very important to the event too. We're going to have Hope. Let me just get her.
While you're looking for that, I put this up for the audience to see. This is if you want to purchase tickets and support
Hmm.
and go on Eventbrite, I will put the well, I can't necessarily put it in the link because you can't click on it. But
Right.
if you go to Eventbrite and just type in the longest living Jane Doe, that should populate and pop up.
Hmm.
There's the ticket price, but also you see the panelists and the person we were talking about is Monique. Of course, we see Kat right there and Dr. Webb and a Miss Myers. So briefly about the panelists, we already spoke about Monique a little bit. Dr. Webb, what is her area of expertise?
She's a medical doctor, and now she does a lot of training around mental health first aid, mental health support. So her piece of the conversation is going to be the importance of trauma-informed service for survivors. Are you familiar with trauma-informed service?
No, not offhand.
So there's a particular way in which trauma survivors really should be, really all of us should be, but trauma survivors need to be treated and communicated with to make sure that you're respecting boundaries, respecting their trauma. I know I teach a lot of this in churches actually, because when you pass the peace, a lot of times these days, churches want to just give you hugs, and trauma survivors not are not necessarily
Yeah,
capable of accepting hugs.
yeah,
And
yeah, okay.
um,
Yeah.
people get offended when I say I'm really not a hugger. Um, so don't touch without permission, talking through everything you're going to be doing if you're a medical provider, if you are a social worker working with them, making sure that you're paying attention to body language and taking breaks in conversation, checking in to make sure that they're emotionally stable at the moment to continue with whatever you're doing. So she's going to be talking a lot about that.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to be talking a lot about general information on trafficking and what Your Infinite Past Foundation is going to be doing to help be part of the solution. Kathy Myers is the executive director of the Center for Children, and she'll be talking about statistics in Maryland, but hopefully also specific to Southern Maryland. A lot of people don't think we have a problem in Southern Maryland, and like we talked about earlier, we do. They want to focus on the opioid problem that we have. What I'm hoping people will start to understand is those two problems go hand in hand.
Yeah, yeah, because I can definitely see that because, and not to really look at movies, but like say the movie Taken,
Yes.
thinking I can't, and you can see where it's built on trafficking, and you
Yeah.
can see how they drug those young ladies
Hmm.
either to make them, go out there and do whatever they had to do. In some cases, they would OD,
Yep.
and then they just find the next round. So that's the sad reality of, to me, the sick individuals who traffic men, women, boys, and girls for their own personal and financial enrichment. It,
Hmm.
it's a tough topic. Um,
It is.
Even my wife was kind of surprised I was doing it. Because there's really no joy. If there is any joy out of it, the only thing I can say is what is it that people can do to help support not only this event, but the cause? What are some things that some people can do? 'Cause to me, it seems like that's we can help, and then hopefully that help will bring those survivors joy.
This is an awareness event, but at the end, I'll be talking about how people can get involved in our next step, which is raising funds for a program house specific for trauma and human trafficking survivors. When we get it off the ground, it will be the third in the state, which is ridiculously small amount to me. So the thing that we're going to do that I believe is different from others is have in-house medical and mental health providers to be able to immediately hit the ground running with these survivors to provide the supports that they need. We'll also be helping them with skills training and community supports. Like we'll be able to help them do applications for Medicaid and Medicare, for social services, SNAP benefits, everything will be in-house. Whatever they need, we're going to bridge the gap for them. We want to have a garden that will not only help feed the folks who are in the house, but also possibly provide an avenue for the survivors to sell the extra produce at a farmer's market and have them keep a portion of that money in an escrow account so that when they're done with us, they have a nest egg to go out in the world with. I also believe very strongly, and I think others have said this too, gardening is very therapeutic. There's something grounding about having your feet and your hands in the dirt and producing something. So those are the types of things that we're going to have. So lots of supports, mental health, medical activities for them when they're able to work, helping them find work, making sure they're able to do interviews properly, um, the whole gambit.
Okay. All
So
right.
people
Well,
can support by going to our website and donating, but they can also become their own team, create their own team. So you can go in, you'll say you want to be a fundraiser, you'll be able to create your own page and then invite your friends and circle to come and uh, raise funds.
okay. And for the record, can you let us know what that website is?
Absolutely. It's www.yourinfinitepathsfoundation.org.
Let me see if I can put this on. Give me a second. Let's see.
Sure.
www dot
Yourinfinitepathsfoundation.org.
infinite paths,
PATHS
your infinite paths.org.
Foundation.
Oh,
Foundation.org.
foundation.org. Let me see. I'm gonna bring up the
We have a
website.
Facebook presence and we absolutely encourage people to sign up for our newsletter as well, which is on the website.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go ahead and share this
Sure.
so people can see the website. There we go. All right. So yep, there's the website right there.
Hmm.
So for those that are looking to um, support, donate, or interested, more information about the foundation, yourinfinitepathsfoundation.org.
Hmm.
And to also keep in mind that if you're looking to purchase tickets to the event, which is this Saturday, you can go to Eventbrite, the Longest Living Jane Doe movie and panel discussion, which would be featuring Monique Smith, Dr. Webb, Miss Myers, and of course, Kathryn Young. So I want to thank you, but before we go, you any last words?
They can also find the Eventbrite link on our Facebook page. So it's the name of our organization, just Your Infinite Paths Foundation on Facebook. They can find us there. And really, it's great to sign up there as well and follow us because all of our activities there, all of our distributions, anytime we need something, we throw it up there and you can really kind of track how we're doing in the community.
Okay, so we would urge you to get your tickets quickly. I don't
Yes.
know what the capacity is for the event, but I guess you'll know if it says tickets no longer available.
That's right. And I
So
want to remind people that when you get a ticket, you're getting a movie snack pack, which will include popcorn, candy, and a beverage. And more importantly than
now, wait
anything,
a minute, we got classified beverage because I want some people coming in there thinking, when you say
oh,
beverage,
yes,
libations,
non-alcoholic.
not libations.
No, non-alcoholic. A
Want to
soda
make
or a
sure.
water is your
Okay.
option. And the most important thing is that you get to take one of Monique's books. The Longest Living Jane Doe is part of your ticket price. And she's graciously said she would be happy to sign them for folks as well.
I have to get that book. I'm still reading this other one, but we'll see. All right. So, hey, once again, I want to thank you for uh, being a guest on I'm Not Complaining, I'm Just Saying. We always tell people if you're going to complain, be prepared to bring solutions to the table. And you definitely have a plethora of solutions
Yes.
for
And a plan.
this very serious and I guess sad topic,
Yeah,
which has been going on for thousands and thousands of years.
absolutely. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share with your viewers what's going on around here. And I hope that I see them at the event.
Okay. And then for those who happened to see my Towson shirt. I was at a basketball game supporting uh the women's basketball team. Have season floor tickets, so I try to support. I'm a supporter of sports, period, but I'm a big supporter of women's sports. So I went down there, met up with my daughter first, you know, fed her with free breakfast, and
Aw,
headed to the game.
nice.
But yeah, once again, thank you for coming on. And once again, if your infinitepathsfoundation.org is the website, and you want to purchase tickets, you can go on Eventbrite for the Longest Living
Hmm.
Jane Doe.
Jane Doe.
All right.
Mhm.
So until then, peace and blessings.
Thank you.